We have arrived at number 38 of our list of the top 50 players. And that number 38 is Efim Geller, born in 1925 in Odessa in the present-day Ukraine. Dies in 1998 in Moscow. Peter, Geller never played a World Championship match, but amazing tournament record, good scores against people. Where do you see him?
Well, to start with his World Championship records, I agree that that's maybe his, let's say, weaker point in that sense. Still, he was extremely close in the sort of well-known Curaçao tournament in 1962, where they had a six-player tournament to define, eight-player actually, sorry, to define who was going to challenge Botvinnik. He came extremely close. He shared second place with Keres, half a point behind the Petrosyan, who would then go on to actually dethrone Botvinnik for good. But, I mean, we are talking extremely marginal to theirs. I think I looked at the score, and the only difference was that Petrosyan made half a point more against Korchnoi than Geller did. So that was extremely close in that sense. And, well, he ends way ahead of Fischer in that tournament and sort of are really close to all the great names there. If you look at the world rankings, he was number 2 for 3 months, according to Sonas, but that probably misrepresents him in a bit. That doesn't show the durability. He actually had to stay in the top for long. And, well, then the 27.65 peak rating as well. Where I think he also stands out a bit and shows his class, if you look at individual scores, he has +3 against Fischer. I think he has 4 wins and 1 loss. And this exact loss is what cost him in Curaçao. Had he drawn or won that game, he would have shared first or actually won the event. With Botvinnik, he also had a +3 score. And I think against Smyslov, also a plus score. So, I mean, it's one guy who's battled with the greats of the game and done very well and had, as I said, a positive score against some of the biggest legends of the game. I think we spoke about maybe he's done better in tournaments than in the World Championship, and maybe he also looks at the kind of guy who maybe didn't have the strongest nervous systems, and it didn't really matter. Somehow he didn't deliver fully, and I think that's what was your point of view, right?
I'm not 100% sure. I've always been a Geller fan because I've also heard many people speak about his incredible influence on chess openings. Like later on, he would also work as the coach to, I think, Spassky and Karpov. And yeah, he wrote quite some books, but I've just heard people making these claims, people that know stuff, that a lot of chess theory nowadays is footnotes to Geller and how relevant he was behind the scenes there. I'm not sure how much that matters in this ranking we're doing, but it's just what comes to mind when I think of him first.
Mm-hmm. It was the same. I thought him as more as a, let's say, theoretician and someone who was up there but not quite. But still, again, when you get into the data and such, he is kind of impressive. And no, World Championships, not as impressive, still very close to getting, the chance to dethrone Botvinnik as his weakest. And then, well, the personal records against the very best and such, I think, tips the balance for me that he clearly belongs to the Hall of Fame and even at a, well, high 38 spot, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. I struggle a bit, but a lot of it is also lack of knowledge. With that generation of Soviet players that weren't world champions, but were at that level. We've had Pulugaevsky. I think we don't have Stein on this list, which, yeah, obviously his career was cut short by an early death and that. But I struggle a bit because I don't know exactly. I've seen some results, but I don't have a good feel like who was the better player or between those on any given day. Like statistics aside, there I struggle a bit. But yeah, that he's deserving and a tremendous influence on chess history, I think, is not a question.
Mm-hmm. We have chosen a game against Fischer, right?
Fischer, he would just bully, right? At least that's what I learned from the books, that, okay, he would show up and think, okay, this American punk, this is not really a competition, and somehow he would be right. No, which no one else
makes it look like he has a point, right? I mean...
Mm-hmm. yeah, this is obviously the knight or Fischer's lifelong weapon. But Geller just executes the strategic plan White has here, no? To break through.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think nowadays people have found solutions and such, but I mean, well, this is Geller, but it also probably Geller influenced Karpov later. I mean, at that point, they would play these structures very successfully with what I think modern days, it has kind of been solved. But I think, for instance, also, well, if you remember the Karpov-Kasparov matches, Karpov was always playing bishop e2 in the night off, Kasparov would play e6. So even at that point, there was this belief that White had a lot of potential in these areas. And well, this is exactly games like this that gave people for a long time the belief that this was very promising for White. And I mean, Geller was a huge sort of practitioner of these things. And,
yeah.
Well, this game is just
earlier point that Karpov followed so many of Geller's ideas for decades later. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you. This game.
No, you didn't actually. Go ahead. Show the moves. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's just,
I mean, you see the rook goes to c1, then he goes back to a1, a4, b4. And, well, this is a position where you could argue both have done strategically very well, right? I mean, well, the bishop could go to c8, depend the b7 weakness, how are you going to get forward? And it's deep strategical things, and it's going to be decided by some details. And well, he just executes it beautifully. I mean, I remember at some point in my youth, so Fischer must be doing fine here, but no, not at all. It's just a crushing game. I mean, he does the same trick twice with the b6 square, right? I mean,
yeah.
No, this is
b6. It's nuances because Fischer wasn't a patzer, but he just understands it more deeply.
Yeah. But it's also, I mean, we rank Fischer as one of the greats, and rightfully so. But he makes him look extremely human in this game.
In Fischer's defense, it's 62. It's before he's at his peak, I would say.
Of course. Should beat them while they're young.
Of course. Gustafsson Caruana is a modern classic.
Yeah, it's going to be our next series. But yeah.
Yeah, nice game.
Oh, very much so. And well, I think also, well, you said that him being a second. As I recall, he was the second of Spassky. Remember, Fischer won this famous game in the Queen's Gambit. And there it was Geller who pointed out this Queen b7 move. Maybe he even won against it with TİME and such. But I think the rumor was that he had even showed it to Spassky before the match, but somehow he couldn't remember or whatever happened. And so, no, he was a serious opening entity for a while for Spassky, but I think also some Karpov wins was based on Geller and such. But, well, he seemed to lag a bit in the clutch moments and delivering there, and sort of maybe fled for that reason to become an extremely successful trainer, apart from being close to the World Championship and such.
No, it looks like he's more of I don't know if scientist is the right word, but he doesn't look like a sportsman, but more than a broad contributor to the game. Still.
Very much so. But still with enough, results to... I mean, he's just so good that despite these defects, he has the results to actually get into the Hall of Fame.
Good job, Efim Geller. And we will see you at 37.